President here, Mr. Kremlev. So, first of all, let me welcome you all to the IBA Women and Sport Conference here in New Delhi, ahead of the IBA Women's World Boxing Championships this evening. It's my great pleasure to be your host and moderator today because we have a fabulous lineup of excellent speakers here who will be sharing with you their experiences of how to break down the barriers in sport for women, to be more inclusive and to ensure greater opportunities for all. So before we get started as well, we do have a welcome address. So please welcome to the stage Mr. AJ Singh, who is the President of the Boxing Federation of India.
President Kremlev, board members of IBA, all the fantastic boxers and coaches and officials gathered here today. Welcome to India. Absolutely fabulous championship that we are having. I was there yesterday in the semi-finals and incredible to see the excitement and the noise that people were making for all of you. And really wonderful to see so many of you who boxed there yesterday. You know, this is a country of 1.3 billion people. And if there is a country in which sport can change lives, it is India. Of the 1.3 billion people that we have here, 650 million of them are women. We live in still, India is growing rapidly, India is modernizing, but to a very large extent, this is still a patriarchal society. A society in which women are thought to be a little below the men. And sport is a wonderful way of showing that women count, that women can do more than what men can do, that women can change their lives, women can change the lives of their families, and women can change. And we have such fabulous examples. Our biggest brand ambassador, Mary Kom, you know, she came from a poor family. She had no money to buy boxing gloves. So she went and became a housemaid in some household and got 50 rupees, which is the equivalent of 50 cents a week. She saved that money up and bought boxing gloves and became a boxer. We held the Youth World Championship a few years ago. And after that championship, I asked some of the boxers why they got into boxing. And it's the stories that you hear are so incredibly moving and so incredibly inspiring. Many of you who are from developed countries can't even imagine what happens in countries like India. I asked a boxer why she took to boxing. And she had just become this world champion, and I asked her, why did you take up the sport of boxing? And she said to me, you know, we had no food in our house. We had no food, so a friend of mine in the village, she said to me, go to that place, there is a boxing camp, and you'll get a few blows, and you'll get hurt a little bit, but you'll get food. So she went and joined that boxing camp just for the food. And here she was standing as world champion. Just so many stories. Lavlina, I mean, she was always told she was useless, that she was, you know, there were she had two other sisters, 3 girls in the family. What a disaster that was, that dowry had to be arranged for them, and how would they manage? And here is Lavlina now in the final of the World Championship, Olympic medalist, final of the World Championship. Many of our boxers come from the state of Haryana, which is close to Delhi. And there, very often when girls are born, parents actually say that we should throw them in the well. Let's throw them in the well, because these are girls for whom we'll have to pay a dowry, which we will not be able to afford. And some of these girls are the ones who have that fire in their belly to show to the world that they count, that their lives mean something. And sport is a way that they make that happen. Boxing is a way that they make that happen. They take out all that inner frustration that they have at being born in an unequal world, and showing that they can be more relevant than the men around them, and in the societies that they live in, that they can count for something. And you see these boxers now, 4 of them from India are in the finals. When they go back to their villages after this championship, they will be welcomed in those villages in open cars. They will be garlanded by the entire village will show up to welcome them. And they will be showered with money and with gifts. And these are for women who, when they were born, had an uncertain existence. So this is what sport can do. And we really welcome this conference. We welcome President Kremlev. We welcome the initiative that he's taken to show to the world what this sport of boxing can do to change lives. And this is why we are in this sport as administrators of the sport. We want to make sure that we use the power of sport to change millions of lives, to inspire, to create hope, to change the lives not only of the girls, but of their families, of their villages, of their states, and indeed of this country of 1.3 billion people. I was reading the story of the boxer from Mozambique. It was in our newspapers, and you can see the kind of coverage that boxing is suddenly getting in our newspapers. Big articles everywhere, every day in the mainline papers. This girl from Mozambique, and the newspapers wrote about her here in India, saying that, look, this is a girl abandoned by her father when she was born, and she lived in poverty, she lived with her mother, and suddenly has been adopted back by her father, and is now the pride of their country because of her skills at boxing. So, you know, I would just like to say that we are very grateful for the opportunity to host this championship. We are very grateful to be involved in a sport which can create such changes, and we are very grateful to President Kremlev and the entire board of IBA for being here in our country and helping us make a difference. Thank you so very much.
Mr. AJ Singh, thank you ever so much for that very inspiring opening speech, and indeed reminding us of just how much sport can change the lives of women, and as Mr. Singh said, their families too. It certainly gives us a lot of food for thought to start this session, so thank you. Now, may I please welcome to the stage our IBA President with his opening remarks, Mr. Umar Kremlev.
I'm very happy to meet and to greet you all, our dear women. I think the International Women's Day is today. So, women are the continuation of humanity. Women, they should have the full potential of their rights. Because the Holy Bible is our constitution, the constitution of every person. It's in the Quran, it's in Buddhism, it's in Christianity, where there's a holy book. Every holy book speaks about women, but nobody speaks about the violation of women's rights. because women are our future mothers, because women are the continuation of humankind. We need to preserve, we need to respect, we need to take care of every woman, because we know that a woman is going to become the mother of our children. And thanks to our dear women, we can see such fantastic children, daughters and sons around us. And their smiles, their happiness makes us even more joyful and happy. The love that we receive from women. We all know what it is. Everybody has a mother. We know what mother's love means for us. And as we say, that paradise is under our mother's feet. This is where paradise lies. So for our dear men, I would like to say, do take care of our women, of your women, and we're going to do all we can to establish the right conditions for our women. As it's been said before, there are women who come and originate from very difficult life situations, and they become stars. And that's why IBA has its mission, its goal, and me as a president, I'm going to continue this, to do all I can to help women achieve their dreams and real results. And for you to be able to create your future, for you to be able to attract others to sport, because sport is a healthy life. And of course, it helps you to increase your well-being and your livelihood. And today, IBA is going to support you in that. And this championship has a prize money of $100,000, and the next one is going to include $200,000. And we're going to double the prize money for the next championship. I have a dream. I do not only want to give prize money for the first, the second, and the third, but also for the fourth and the fifth winner of a championship. Because I would like to give opportunity to more sportsmen and sportswomen, or athletes, and athletes are both men and women, and they are equal in IBA. When I speak about athletes, I both speak about women and men. But I don't want females to fight against men. That's something I would like to stick to. Because that's very dangerous. Because women can actually succeed. So dear ladies, congratulations with this wonderful forum. I would like to express words of gratitude to India, because this is not the first time that they organize a women's championship. India shows that India is a country that fights for women's rights, for equality. I know many countries from Europe, from other continents, where it is spoken about the rights of women, but little is done for gender equality. I speak about this issue with many sponsors and with many other countries, and they do nothing. They only speak about it, while India is here to show and to manifest and to act in the support of women. And I see that India is there to organize the best championships, the best tournaments, and I'm sure that in the in IBA, we're going to be able to organize women's championships, and I want these championships to be supported and to support boxing as such in every country. And I want boxing to become a sport for women as well, and to become one of the most principal sports in the world. So we all make up a team, and together we need to fight for boxing at the Olympic Games. Many people question, but nobody has the right to decide whether an athlete should participate at the game or shouldn't. I think that we as sports functionaries, for example, me, I'm not a leader. I'm not here to show you the way. My work is to create the conditions, as I've said before, and as I'm saying now. Usually I say the following example. Maybe some people don't like it, but usually I say that, okay, let's say that athletes come or go to a restaurant and they're being served, right? So this is what we should do. We should serve, we should assist our athletes. This is our task. And we need to protect each and every athlete, because every athlete is a member of IBA. Wherever this athlete resides and wherever the athlete finds himself in a difficult situation, please feel free to turn to us. Please feel free to turn to me, because personally I'm going to try to handle the issue and help you. Even if you're in a difficult situation, please don't be shy. IBA is your home. This is an organization that worries about athletes, supports athletes, and develops boxing. This is the only organization that does this. And for you to be able to work even after the championship, there are going to be titles and belts given to athletes twice a year, where the title holder is going to be able to defend the title. And for every fight, they're going to receive $100,000, and after defending the title, the prize money is going to be even higher. So our athletes, they're going to be able to do boxing and to earn money with boxing. This is actually a commercial project that we are planning to go ahead with. And well, if you everybody who is going to win a gold and a diamond, they're going to have the opportunity to fight the world champion in the next fight. So I think this makes up a great competition. Be ready. I'm telling it for you to be able to prepare and to build your future plans. And we have a rating system, and this rating system is going to help us choose different tournaments. And some tournaments are going to get and to receive higher ratings, and it's going to help the athletes to compete with the champions. And this is a commercial plan that I'm summarizing now. There are going to be financial means being given, and every champion is going to be able to have a match revanche. So I think that this, as a first women's forum, that in the framework of a women's championship, we're also going to organize the women's forum also at continental tournaments. This is going to be an obligatory event parallel to the women's championship. And today at the women's forum, I would like you to ask questions. Please don't be shy. We have a wonderful board of directors that is present, and please feel free to ask them questions. whatever you're interested in. So feel free to ask, feel free to clarify any questions. Don't be shy, because this is your day and this is your forum, and you need to know and need to understand where IBA is heading. But the most important thing is that IBA is your boxing home. Thank you very much. And officially, this forum is open, and I would like to underline once again, such women's forum is going to be organized at every continent, parallel to the Women's Championships. It is our aim and our goal to have prize money in different countries and tournaments, and our goal is to have prize money at national championships as well in every country. So that's our aim, and that's what we're heading to. Thank you very much.
Of the IBA, thank you ever so much for those opening remarks. And incredible to hear just there that amazing prize money already is going to be doubled again. I only wish I had trained to be a boxer. Is it too late? I don't know. But for that money, I certainly would try. So thank you very much. Now we are going to move on to another very inspiring lady. And I have to say, from the work when I started working with the IBA as well as a presenter and researching the incredible board members and their achievements, I couldn't fit all their credentials on my sheet of paper when I was calling their names out, and it really is quite amazing. So I would like to welcome to the stage now, for a scene setter, Miss Pearl Delamy, and she is the chair of the Diversity Commission and board member of the IBA. And please give her a warm welcome as well. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, it's afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. I'm waiting for my presentation. Then we will go. But meanwhile, I'm seeing beautiful faces here, beautiful ladies here. Well, my presentation will be around the issue of leveling the canvas. How about equal opportunities now? So some of my discussion points will be women boxing. Who are we as women boxers? Then we'll speak to the diversity committee. We'll look into their roles. We'll touch on equity, inclusion, and diversity. And then we'll talk about equal opportunities. We will do an as-is analysis, or the current analysis within IBA. And then the last session will be just to look at some few pointers on how can we actually level the canvas. Okay, but before we start, let me just say we are in the month of March. March is a beautiful month. Why? Because it's our month as women. It's a women's month. It's a pink month, hence I'm wearing pink today. A number of my colleagues are wearing pink today. Others say it's a purple month, but overall it's a bright month. It's a month of smiles, honor, gratitude, and appreciation to us as women. As women, we are reminded during this month in particular that we are beautiful and we are loved out there, ladies. The World Boxing Championships here in India for the first time have happened in the month of March. Perfect timing, Mr. President Umar. We appreciate that. What a coincidence. Okay, great prize money. It's a first for us as women. A whole $200,000 for gold medalists. How I wish I was a boxer at this stage. Maybe I can try and be a boxer in the next coming championships, I don't know. But that's a big amount of money for us. So President, thank you so much. The entire board of directors, thank you so much. We remain grateful as women in boxing. You have really touched our heart. But now, we are not competing with men. Instead, we also then want to appreciate our men in boxing. Thank you to all the men in our boxing family. Your support does not go unnoticed. In you, we have found brothers, we have found mentors, coaches and fathers. We really appreciate you, our men out there. And we honestly feel safe around you, and we wish that our women boxers can also then feel safe around their coaches and the male colleagues. Overall, love lives here in boxing. We are a loving family as boxing. Okay, let's go back. So who are we? If we speak to us as the boxing, we are the boxing family. As you can see, that picture, we've got our IBA staff there, we've got our board of directors, we've got some members from the national confederations, coming from all confederations, because we are a family. We are not just about sport, but we are also about family and love. We are the boxers. As you can see, these two, look at those two. We are the boxers. We are also coaches as women, although the statistics is showing that not many of the coaches are so keen in taking up the coaches' causes. You can see Gabrielle there, who is the chairperson of the Coaches Commission. We are also the RNJs, the ITOs, the anchors of this game. And mostly we do have our ringside physician and doctors. We also appreciate them because we do have some women in that space as well. Good. So let's talk to the diversity committee now. Okay. So before, we used to have what was called the women's committee. IBA then decided we are no longer going to have a women's committee. We now have what we call the diversity committee. The reason for moving from women's committee into diversity committee is that we do not want to discriminate by gender. So immediately you start saying women's committee, already you are discriminating. But with being a diversity committee now, we are saying we are looking at issues of both the men in our sport and the women in our sport. But quickly, I'll just go through the role of us as the diversity committee, as I have been introduced as the chairperson of this committee. So our role mainly is about inclusion. We have to make sure that this inclusive environment, without any discrimination of any kind, such as race, as mentioned, gender, sexual orientation, language, political belief, or any other belief or opinion, nationality, birth, or property. So we do not discriminate. We are an inclusive committee. We also then have to ensure that we develop and encourage grassroots development across all levels. As well, we will be promoting women's boxing. We are passionate about women's boxing. But mainly, it's mainly about supporting equity and diversity across all aspects of IBA, meaning across even the official side of things, the boxers, the administrators. We have to ensure that there's equity and diversity. And the last one is the realization and development of social works. That's the role of the diversity committee. This is the committee. I am not going to read these names. Pearl is the chairperson, and then I've got my beautiful sister Arifa from Jordan. She's the vice chairperson. As you can see from the screen, we only have one man in our committee, the one in red. But what we are going to do is that we are going to request in tomorrow's board meeting to at least add one more man at least, so that our committee is also kind of like balanced. Okay, so if we speak equity, inclusion, and diversity, what are we saying? So in terms of equity, we are speaking fairness in our sport of boxing. Equal access both to men and women. Recognizing inequalities, because inequalities, they do exist, so we need to recognize them. And then we need to deliberately, as IBA, take steps in terms of addressing these inequalities. And then when we look at inclusiveness, because you'll remember from the mandate, we said our main role is the three: equity, inclusion, and diversity. It also speaks to equal access to opportunities and resources. So whatever opportunities the male boxers are getting, we are requesting, Mr. President and the entire board, that can those opportunities be also availed to these beautiful ladies here. Diversity. It's that's when we are looking at the range of, a different range of people. Okay. So, I have that picture of equality and equity. My question to you all is, what do we want as IBA? Are we after equality or are we after equity? What is our view? Are we going for one or are we going for two? I will wait for you to respond. Is it a one or is it a two? If you're saying it's a one, maybe you can raise your hands. If you think it's a one. If it's a two, you can raise your hands. Yes, indeed. IBA is after equity, not equality. Equity is about giving fair chances, fair opportunities to all, men and women boxers. Okay, so let's start with the administration, the board of directors. So with the board of directors, you will see this picture. In that picture, please don't think that we have more men in the board than the women, no. Some women are not present in this meeting. We are balanced, actually, because the other men in our board, they are the confederation presidents. So during the elective congress, only 10 board of directors were elected. Of those, 5 were women, and of those 5 were men. So these are the beautiful ladies that are actually representing your needs, dear boxers, in the IBA board. So speak to any of these ladies. They will take your consent and we will look into your matters. Because honestly, as the women in the IBA board, we have to ensure that women priority is given to women and women issues are being addressed at the IBA level. Otherwise, why are we there as women if we're not going to be fighting for your rights? We also then have our IBA staff. Our IBA staff is also balanced. We've got 12 men and 13 women. But sadly, I didn't get a picture of the whole team. I only managed to get a picture of the administrative team. So that's our team, but they are balanced, of course. Now, interesting one. I wish I could move around, but this thing is like controlling me now. Let's look at the statistics. Okay, these statistics, thanks to Chris who helped me to put up these statistics, it's coming from the IBA database. So when we look at our IBA database, in terms of registered boxers, women, we only have 4,854 registered boxers, which is 25% when you compare in totality of the number of boxers in totality. The youth world champs that happened in La Nucia, Spain, we had only about 30% of women participating in those games. The past world championships, you remember we had the women championships last year in Istanbul. We only had about 420 women participating. In the men's championships in Belgrade, we had about 665 men. And I'm hoping that in the next upcoming world championships, we will see more women participating in this game because chances are being availed to us. And the president has rightfully said, if ever as a national federation you are facing difficulties in terms of attending these major events, speak to IBA. The office is open to assist where they can assist. So please talk to us now. That's why we are in the board. When we look at the coaches database, sadly we only have about 419 coaches, female coaches, against 8,400 men. The gap is so much. Only 4.75% of women are women coaches. Something needs to be done to address that area. I bet, Mr. President, even now with these games, most of the coaches that are attending these games, these women games, are men. What happened to our beautiful ladies? Where are they? What happened to our retired female boxers? Where are they? Can't we recruit them to become the female coaches? Maybe it's time we look into those issues and those opportunities. RNJs only 11.2% are women. ITOs, only 16.2% are women. Doctors, only 19.6% are women. And then it's the prize money. The prize money, for us as women this time, we are honestly grateful and we appreciate this effort because it is a first. So for the first time, we are getting 2.4 million in totality. 100 US dollars for gold, 50 for silver, 25,000 for a bronze medalist. Compared to the men, they are getting 5.2 million in the next 2 months. Wow. 200,000 for gold medalist. Wow. But now, it is not for us to start comparing the prize money, especially because we have heard what the president is saying. Ours as ladies is to appreciate what we are being given at this stage and just to hope and pray that in the upcoming championships, we will actually be getting equal amounts with the men. Come on, we also want 200,000. Why not? Give it to us as ladies. Because actually, we fight better than men. We're stronger than the men. So we deserve more as ladies. Okay, my last presentation is around how then can we level the canvas. I need to also give gratitude to the former women committee. They did a lot and they achieved quite a lot. Ours as the new committee, the diversity committee, is to actually work on some of their recommendations. Fortunately, I was also sitting in that committee before, so it's easy to implement some of the ideas or initiatives that were already started. So we ran out a women boxing survey, but the response was very low, extremely low. So today we want to request all national federations present here and those virtual at home to say, please, we will be issuing out again this women boxing survey. And can it be you boxers this time asking your national federations, have you actually filled in the survey? Put pressure on them, because maybe they're not taking this thing serious. But the thing is, if there's no data, then there's no change. If we are not aware, we're not going to bring any changes as the IBA board. So this survey is very important. Give us the information. We need to understand the status of women boxing in your individual national federations, and only then can we tap in and see how we can assist as IBA. Okay, we've got ambassadors all over the continents. They've been appointed. For the first time last year, we had the IBA Women Boxing Awards. President, for 2023, we are requesting to have another set of Women Boxing Awards. They delivered the Invisible to Visible program, also the Women Aspire program, and they developed the Women's Coaches Manual. It was also then socialized, so they did quite a lot. So now, what other things come to mind from Pearl now? So I'm also thinking then, we need to put up policies in place. Policies such as gender equity policy or equity policy, policies such as child protection policy, policies such as harassment policy, because these policies are very crucial for us as women. As a mother, if I let my child go and box, I have to know that there's a policy that's protecting my own child against sexual harassment and harassment in general. So IBA will look into some of these policies. Some of the other things we need to do is to enforce the women quota in national federations boards. Is there a policy forcing them to have a certain quota within the board? IBA has got 50% women elected in the Congress and 50% men. But back in our national federation, in our own countries, we do not have women in some of these boards, and there has to be a policy or a regulation that will enforce that we've got women in those national federation boards. Also, how about we enforce as IBA that each national team must at least have a woman coach? That way, these teams here, they will be forced to go out and recruit women coaches, and then we'll quickly put them into training, and they will be qualified. We also wish that IBA must bring back the Women Leadership Capacitation Program. We had a beautiful program, President, where Gabrielle Muller actually mentored some of us. I recall very well, it was from that mentorship program where I actually decided, you know what, I am going to stand up against men in these IBA elections. So it mentors us so much, it gave us so much hope. So we request that we have these kind of programs again. We must intentionally direct certain funds towards women boxing initiatives. Angela, if we do not do that, then we are not going to win as women. The women boxing equipment and outfits, they are very expensive. Okay, the outfits, they're not sexy. I wish for something sexy, President. When these ladies get into the ring, you know, we must see some flash, see something nice. But now, when they're in the ring, they still look like the man. Something must differentiate us that we are women. So I'm hoping we will be looking into that. And if there's funds that is directly put aside for that, or maybe together we can try and find some sponsors to help us in that space. I had put as my point, but you copied my point, Mr. President. I said consider continental boxing forums, but you said it first now, so the glory goes to you. It's no longer my point now, but I'm happy that we are aligned, because then it will be a reality now, because the two of us are aligned. Okay. National federations must support the girl child. We are requesting them to give priority to women boxers too. Give equal chances to the women boxers as well. But moreover, family support is crucial. We are your family as the IBA Board of Directors. Please speak to any one of us. The president is our father in totality. So do not say, I have no family, because in us you have a family. You can never be alone. When you have elected us to be your board, our role now is to make sure that we play that parental role in your lives, and we try and improve your lives, ladies. Okay, my last point is that in the next forum to come, in the next championships, we wish that amongst the panelists, we could have all the chairpersons of all the committees that have been appointed by IBA in the next 4 years. These chairpersons must come here, stand here, tell us what have they done to promote women boxing, to level the canvas, and what are their plans for the future in terms of doing that and addressing women boxing. They have to start being accountable. You cannot just be a chairperson and do what? Sit. Those days are over. A scorecard must be put in place and focus must be given to us. Okay. The happiness, I'm speaking to the ladies now. The happiness of your life, ladies, it depends on the quality of your thoughts. Your mind is like a magnet. If you think of blessings, you attract blessings. If you think of problems, you attract problems. Always cultivate good thoughts and remain positive and optimistic. Train your mind to see good in everything. Ladies, positivity is a choice. As I end my presentation, I want to end with a message to all of us ladies from Mike Tyson. He says, we have to train your mind to be stronger than your feelings, or else you will lose yourself. We can't lose ourselves, ladies. Let's train our minds to actually be stronger than our feelings. It's not time to operate with feelings. Feelings are no longer with us. We are stronger than men, so forget about these feelings. Thank you very much, everyone.
Pearl, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Do take a seat and relax a little bit now, but not entirely, because we're going to hear more from Pearl, because we are now going to have a panel discussion continuing on that very subject. And what an incredible few points there. I mean, a lot of excellent points there made by Pearl. And once again, reiterating that incredible prize money, that £200,000, doubling that prize money next time to that. And again, it's a starting point, isn't it, to equal the playing field. And as you were saying there, Pearl, as well, pushing ahead, the IBA mission to keep pushing ahead to achieve those equal opportunities. And the prize money just being one of those things, as Pearl said, that needs to keep pushing ahead and going forwards. So, on that note, we will welcome the rest of our panelists to continue this discussion. So, can we please welcome to the stage, firstly, Diane Gomez. He's the Board of Directors member, a member of the Board of Directors of the IBA, but he was also the only man on the Women's Commission for a very long time. So please welcome him to the stage first, everybody. Next, also please welcome to the stage Prabodhika Lokiadi, the chairwoman of the Women's Commission at the Boxing Association of Sri Lanka. Excellent, thank you. And also, please welcome to the stage, we have Nilanjana Bromwick, who is an award-winning independent journalist, editor, writing coach, and author. She's recently published her first book on empowering women. So she will also be sharing some thoughts and insights with us. Please welcome her to the stage. And also, I'm very happy to say Estelle Mosley made it here because she was stuck in a little bit of New Delhi traffic coming in. But please welcome her to the stage. She is also, as you know, a professional boxer, Olympic gold medalist, and IBO lightweight title holder. So many credits to squeeze in for Estelle. Thank you, Estelle. Okay, so where do we start? Because we have so many experts here and we have a lot to talk about. So firstly, let's start with Deanne here. Okay, so as I mentioned there, you were the only man in the Women's Commission for a very long time. Now, as a man amongst all these incredibly powerful, talented ladies, when did you start introducing women's boxing in Sri Lanka? And what were the main challenges from your perspective? We want to make sure we hear you okay, so we're good?
Testing.
Excellent.
Actually, it all started in early as 2003. I was a group director of one of the larger $3 billion company making lingerie for Victoria's Secrets in Sri Lanka and in about 11 other overseas locations. So we had about 34 factories in Sri Lanka, and we had a workforce of nearly 90,000 people, mostly women. I would say 90% of them women working, as machinists, making lingerie. So at that time, I realized that sports was a great unifier, and to motivate women, we need to get them involved in sports. And I was the president of Sri Lanka Boxing at that time, and we had the men's boxing team also there. So we started boxing, and what we did exactly was to recruit people who were doing sports in other combat sports like karate and judo and taekwondo and all that, which was in the school level. But boxing was not very popular, nor it was introduced in the schools. So managed to get some athletes, and we started. And within a couple of years, we started getting some wins. The first major victory came in Russia, in St. Petersburg, in 2006-2007, in a European tournament where one of our women got a gold medal. And a success breeds success. And I wanted to create heroes in the plants and within all these women. Because once you start respecting women, bringing equality, the facilities, with the men's team, they were practicing with the men's team, it got traction. So it took nearly 18 years of our efforts to win a gold medal, actually a bronze medal, in Brisbane Commonwealth Games. The first Sri Lankan woman to win a medal in Brisbane. So that was our success story. But within that time, to bring equality, to bring corporate sponsorship, to bring women to the fore was a challenge. And I'm sure today it's kind of very established. We have a lot of support, but unfortunately not from the government, from the private sector. So I'm much appreciative of all these sponsors who come in to support women's boxing as well. So that was the journey, and that's where we started. Because I had a bit of an advantage, having a large pool of women, being in a boxing position to drive it hard and put the resources. And we had a Cuban coach for them as well.
It's really interesting, Dion, how you were saying there about it's that corporate crossover as well, from how you learnt as well the ropes with working with women, empowering women through an industry that's very female-focused, as we all know, with Victoria's Secret, but of course into the realm of sports. And that kind of actually transitions nicely from those challenges you were talking about. If I can please go to you next, Pradika, because certainly as the Women's Commission of the Boxing Association of Sri Lanka, you will also come across a lot of challenges of sort of getting that transition for women into the sport as well in the Asian context. So It would be very interesting to hear your story about how you did break that mindset in an Asian context of women's equality, especially in combat sports, of course, like boxing.
I'll speak to my native language, Dan will translate. Gender basic කියන එකම කාන්තාවන්ට boxing ක්‍රීඩාවට කාන්තාවක් වෙච්ච එකම ක්‍රීඩාවකට සුදුසු නෑ කියලා ආසියාතික රටක හිතන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ ලංකාව, ශ්‍රී ලංකාව වගේ රටක කාන්තාවක් වීම ක්‍රීඩාවකට සුදුසු නෑ කියලා ඒ කල්චර් එක, ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ රිලිජන් එක, ඒ වගේ තැන්වලදී හිතන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් අපි හැම වෙලාවෙම කරන්න ඕනේ මේ බැරියර්ස් නැති කරන්න නම් කාන්තාවක් විදියට මෙයාලව මොටිවේට් කරන්න ඕනේ. හැම වෙලාවෙම කාන්තාවක් මොටිවේට් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඊළඟ එක තමයි එයාලට තියෙන
translate. Actually what she says in the native language is in a country like Sri Lanka or in Asia, there is greater gender inequality where the society thinks especially girls or women should not get involved in kind of competitive sports because it's not feminine enough, because that's a kind of thinking of the Asian thinking. So basically to change the mindset, what were the things that you know she said that we broke through. One was bringing them kind of a respect, you know, that women can do what men can do, that kind of a thinking infusion.
සෑම කාන්තාවක් තුළම සංගවිච්ච කුසලතාවයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ කුසලතාවය අපට එළියට ගන්න පුළුවන් සුදුසු කෝච් කෙනෙක්, ඒ වගේම හොඳ කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක්, ෆැමිලි බෑග්ග්‍රවුන්ඩ් එක, එඩියුකේෂන් කියන එක තියෙනවා නම් හොඳ ක්‍රීඩිකාවක් අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන්. ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ආසියාතික රටවල් වල කාන්තාවන් තුල තියෙනවා ලැජ්ජාව කියන එක පොඩ්ඩක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒක නැති කරන්න නම් අපේ කෝච් කෙනෙක්ට පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ මේ තියෙන self confidence කියන එක හදන්න.
ආසියානු මට්ටමේ ගොඩක් සමහර විට ලැජ්ජාව කියන එක තියෙනවා ගෑනුන්ට. ඒ කියන්නේ ගිහිලා ගහගන්න, උදාහරණයක් වශයෙන් ගහගන්න ගේම්ස් වලට යන්න ගැහැණු ටිකක් the people are little bit apprehensive for fighting kind of sports. But how she breaks is give them respect, give them facilities, give them that confidence with a good coaching and a leadership for them to come out of that mindset to go ahead. I think that's what basically breaking the barriers.
අපේ කාන්තාවකට ස්පර්ම් එකක් දුන්නොත් බේබි කෙනෙක් ඩිලිවර් කරන්න පුළුවන්. එච්චරට ශක්තියක් තියෙන කොටසක් තමයි කාන්තාවන් කියන්නේ. ඉතින් එයාලගේ මයින්ඩ් සෙට් එක හැම වෙලාවෙම අපි මොටිවේට් කරලා එයාලව ඇප්‍රීෂিয়েට් කරලා මේ කාර්ය කරොත් අපිට කාන්තාවන් මීට වඩා බොක්සින් වල ඉදිරියට ගේන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් ඉන්න ප්‍රතිශතයට වඩා ලොකු ප්‍රතිශතයක් ගේන්න පුළුවන්. කාන්තාවන් මොටිවේට් කරනවා නම් ඒගොල්ලන්ට තියෙන කාන්තාවන්ට තියෙන අගය වැඩි කිරීමක් තියෙනවා නම් එතකොට අපි වටේ ඉන්න අය, අපේ සොසයිටි එකේ ඉන්න අය දන්නවා ක්‍රීඩිකාවට වටිනාකමක් තියෙනවා කියලා. අපි හැම වෙලාවෙම අපේ බොක්සර් කෙනෙක්ට, අපේ ලේඩි කෙනෙක්ට වටිනාකමක් දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වටිනාකම තුලින් මම හිතනවා මේ ක්‍රීඩාව සහ මයින්ඩ් සෙට් එක මේගොල්ලන්ගේ ඩෙවලොප් කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා.
It's all recognition and basically women have a lot of strength to become a wife or a mother and to bear children, but also at the same time that possibility and the strength and the courage has to be developed. So only way that you can do is to motivate by recognition and through sport. So the more people that you get recognized, more women who get recognized, you get the traction.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your insight. Do you know, it's very interesting to hear as well from that perspective too, of breaking the boundaries and the barriers across continents and very much the same picture, all at different stages, but certainly, as we've heard from Pearl as well, with the help of the IBA, the progress being made towards it is certainly going to continue to make a difference. And that moves me nicely on to a lady who certainly writes a lot about this. So Nilanja, you are an independent but award-winning journalist, I might just add, editor, writing coach, and author as well. You recently published your first book, Lies Our Mothers Told Us, The Indian Woman's Burden, where you talk in that book about women's empowerment. So my question to you is, how do you think, from your experiences of writing about this and talking about it, how do you think social norms have restricted progress for women in sport, particularly?
Thank you, Angela. So I feel that in patriarchal countries, especially in South Asia, and it's no different in Sri Lanka as it is in India, I think it's social norms, cultural norms that restrict women from getting into sports because, as someone pointed out, it's not considered feminine. But, you know, in countries like ours, sports can be a big equalizer. It can really, you know, there are so many barriers to gaining, you know, like to advancing gender equality in our countries, and sports is one medium which can do it seamlessly. And it's been happening in India as well. So during my time with Time magazine, I reported on this, you know, sports, how sports was empowering women in India, women and young girls in India. At that point of time, I visited North Bengal, and there I had the chance to meet this very unique women's football team. These were all, you know, from very poor background. They all lived in the tea estates, and they just wanted to play football because they saw their brothers or, you know, the other male members playing it as recreation. And so this girl, you know, her name is Bhavani Munda, and she, you know, the kind of challenges that she faced, let me give you a very small example. Her first challenge was to convince parents to allow their daughters to wear shorts. So that was her challenge, because, you know, there are certain cultural norms, you know, where women, you know, in India, you know, like they don't generally wear shorts, or, you know, I mean, even in tennis, you know, like the tennis outfit. So that was a challenge, but she persisted, and she's still doing it. They have a team, and they used to play all around. She struggled against, of course, you know, funding, and she would work 2 jobs just to keep the team alive. And she has kept the team alive for over a decade now. She runs a small tea shop. She makes biscuits in the night, and she does it, you know, like to get the funds. And the team, the girls, have been empowered so much. She told me that today we can walk out in the evenings. Nobody has, you know, like can dare, you know, tease us or, you know, I mean, harass us, because, you know, they know we will give it back to them. That's one. Second thing is that a lot of the girls, you know, got good jobs. There was a girl, you know, who once sent me a picture of herself in a police uniform, and she was so happy because that's what she, and if you think about it, it was just this innocuous, you know, seemingly innocuous game of football that led to all of this. And they're still, you know, and I think, you know, they inspired a lot of this, you know, girls, you know, football teams, and it's just an example of how sports can really, you know, cut through all the challenges that we face, and it kind of, you know, like gives you an equal field to play on, you know, and we are always talking about leveling the field, and I think, you know, sports in a country, especially in a country like India or, you know, in South Asia, where poverty is an issue, I think we should really look at sports to empower our girls.
I agree with you, and I think the whole audience will too, of course. And it's very interesting, like you said, that those social norm restrictions from things as simple as worried about wearing shorts. And I suppose as well, exactly the same as well when you do a sport that perhaps has been very dominated by men, and transitioning it over to women and breaking those barriers to make it, I mean, aside from boxing as well, we've seen it in football, and even, you know, in England as well, for example, the women's football team were doing other jobs at the same time as focusing on the sport because they didn't have enough sponsorship money or enough funds to be able to do it completely professionally. And so achieving those equal playing fields is so important, and having the support from sponsorship grassroots up. And Estelle Mosley, you will certainly know about this as a boxer. I don't know if you need tu besoin de translation pour ça. I don't know.
I
Or I
understand.
can,
I
or
just
en
will
français?
answer in
En
French.
français aussi
I
pour moi?
understand, it's not a
Okay,
problem.
super. Parfait. So, Estelle, do you think, the question I'd like to ask you as an athlete is, do you think that the IBA has positioned women's boxing and equality for female athletes in the world arena with the new leadership? You know, do you think it's positioned it well?
Yeah, I will speak it. I will answer in French.
J'ai commencé moi la boxe, je suis rentrée dans la boxe internationale il y a 13 ans.
I started,
Et c'est vrai que j'ai vu une avancée
when I started boxing, well, I started working quite a long time ago.
des femmes dans ce sport. À l'époque, il y a 13 ans, il y a 15 ans en arrière, il n'y avait pas de compétition pour les jeunes. Il y avait des compétitions
So when I started
pour les femmes, pour les seniors.
boxing,
Avec un nombre de participantes assez
there was no specific program for youth boxing
Il faut dire aussi que
as such.
l'accès de la boxe aux Jeux Olympiques, de la boxe féminine a beaucoup aidé. Mais il a fallu prendre le pas
And as
là-dessus. Prendre le pas et
female boxing, women's boxing became an Olympic sport, the situation has changed. However, we had great difficulties and we had to struggle to push women's boxing forward without competition. It is also important for women to have competition. Women's boxing needs to exist both for professionals, both for youth. So it was difficult to overcome. And with time, there was an evolution in women's boxing, both in tactics, both in regulations, both in how people who won behave themselves, how they, what opportunities they have after they won certain types of competitions. For women, it is important to understand that we do not have equal difficulties, equal opportunities, and equal hopes. We as women, we also differ, and we need to consider the difference among women as well. We've seen how women's boxing evolved in different countries, and we've seen how men's boxing has evolved in different countries. When men compete 2 times per 1 minute or 3 times per 1 minute, now I see and I question whether it would have been a good idea to have equal rules during the competitions and the fights. And of course, as women, we have also other limitations and difficulties. For example, some of us, they have families or children and maybe some social difficulties and family-related obstacles as well. So this is something that still has to be considered and solved, and solved in terms of mentality and approach and the filters that we are seeing through. Well, for example, men can fight without helmets, so this issue is still under question among women. So we are lagging behind for a couple of years. However, this question is undergoing, and hopefully there will be some amendments to rules, regulations in women's boxing. We have to remember that boxing is a fight. This is a competitive sport. So I think that these are the issues that I've raised. They need to be handled in the future. I do feel that we are equal, however, the difficulties are not equal. Also, if, for example, a couple of years ago, And I think it's very a financial issue was also very important, and it still is for the majority of athletes. I also believe that we need to be equal in financial terms as well.
Nous sommes les femmes et que nous sommes
And
aussi à
if we
cheval
speak about
de la
equality,
même manière que les hommes, on doit recevoir
however, we are
Alors,
often put in the
aujourd'hui,
background.
les sont toujours que beaucoup chez les hommes des
Some believe that we women can and should receive less prize money. I think this is unacceptable.
voir le jour, des tournois semi-professionnels, des tournois d'époque semi-private pour
And there are more and more semi-professional
femmes
competitions that emerge also in women's boxing as well. So we see a certain progress, and it is very important to support women athletes so that those athletes could earn money with their sport.
grosse importance dans la pratique du sport féminin et qui peut contribuer à l'évolution de ce sport parce que
I see that this question is getting more attention, and it also has to do with other types of sports, not only with boxing. But we need to consider that women have many, many things that they have to deal with, not only sports.
There is the many challenges still to overcome. As you said, we've seen the evolution, we've seen the changes and the progress constantly being made, but there is still, as you said, work to be done. And for example, things like you noted there, equal rules, the wearing of the helmet, financial terms, should they also be the same? Now, very, very excellent points and lots of food for thought for people, organizations to consider. Now, Pearl, we have time for one more question before we're going to open up to the audience for questions as well. Pearl, I also would like to speak to you. We heard from Estelle about the challenges as well. Now, from your immense experience too, and you have so many accolades. Of course, you are Board of Directors member at the IBA, Chair of the Diversity Commission as well. But you have so many, it's incredible. But there must have been so many challenges that you faced as a result of getting to where you are now.
Yeah. Hey, Angela, now you want to make me cry. I honestly went through a lot of challenges myself. Ladies, it's not going to be easy. Some of the challenges that I went through personally is the challenge of being heard, the challenge of not being easily accepted. So I wasn't accepted out there. There were too many doubts at first. So the story is around me being amongst the first women presidents in IBA. So I was president for 9 years in my country, Eswatini. So some of those challenges, there were just too many doubts at first. And also now, many waited for my downfall. Guess what? I never went down. But they waited for my downfall. So at some point, I recall very well, we had a meeting, and someone said it point blank to me that actually presidents of boxing should be someone that has actually been in the ring. So telling me direct that, Pearl, because you've never boxed before, you cannot be our president. But anyway, doesn't matter, that's history. Another one, at some point when we had challenges and due to financial support and things were not going right, they mocked me. They said to me, Angela, what else did you expect from a woman? So ladies, these words will be said to you. Don't mind them, it's okay. Let them say these things to you. Unlike today, the IBA of yesterday, there was no support for upcoming women leaders and administrators. So at some point, I felt all alone. I was so scared, disoriented, angry, and I felt lost. And I was like questioning myself, why am I really doing this? Do I really want to do this? But now, guess what? I'm actually happy for those challenges, because those challenges, it helped me as they mocked me. It helped me to understand that only through such challenges, because remember, ladies, we are not like what we go through. The problems that we go through, you can't tell we are going through these problems when you look at me at face value. So I decided they are going to build me. These challenges, the pain that I went through, the agony that I went through, the mocking that I went through, helped me to be more resilient. And today, I am this person that I am today. So challenges will forever be there. But the thing is, no one will clap hands for you as you rise up the ladder. But listen, stay focused and look at the goal. Forget about the others as ladies.
Excellent note to end on there. Stay focused, remember the goal, and indeed, as we all face challenges, both men and women, it certainly does make us more resilient.
Angela, if I may make a quick point.
Yes, of course.
I was just listening to what, her sharing her experiences, and I feel that, yes, sports is a great equalizer. It's a great channel for women's empowerment. But, progress has been slow, and like everything else, especially in patriarchal countries like ours, we need sports to be gender responsive as well. It needs to take into account women's differential needs. In our country, for example, in India, women's care burden is 10 times that of men. And it is something non-negotiable. In patriarchal countries, women are primarily, looked upon, as they are the unpaid caregivers, right? And if we have to empower women through sports, we have to make sports, all kinds of sports, gender equal, gender responsive, inclusive, and take into account what women need, what women want, because, there is no doubt that men and women are different, their needs are different.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for adding that point. Thank you to all our panelists for your insights. We do have time for a couple of questions from the audience. So if anybody does have a question for any of our panelists now, please do raise a hand and we will try and fit in at least a couple I think we have time for. So any audience member at all, do any of you have a question for our panelists? I'll come a bit closer because I'm a little short-sighted. There is a lady at the back there. Would you like to stand up? And I don't know if our technical team have a microphone at the back. Okay? Excellent.
Eradicating discriminations between culture and race, and I was wondering whether IBA ever thought about age, because we do have the 40-year-old limit, and we saw that adjusted with the Tokyo Olympics, and Mira Potkinen ended up being a Olympic medalist, and she was over 40 years old, and I'm here in this tournament as a finalist, and I'm 38, turning 39 years old. And I feel like I'm still at the peak of my career, and I don't understand or was just wondering why that we do have that 40-year-old age limit with it, and whether there was any thoughts on addressing that.
Absolutely, very good question. Who would like to take it from our panelists, that question on age? Deanne.
I think basically it has been, earlier it was much more, the age limit was in the 30s, but they later on increased it to 40 for one reason that health, and it's kind of considered a medical risk to box after 40. That is one of the reasons, but there are people who kind. Yes. Yes. But sometimes, Ajay, like you said, the medical commission says, over 40, people can box.
Can I respond as well?
Yes.
I just want to say, in the diversity committee, we do have Lovlina sitting in our committee as a representative of the women boxers. So please, whatever concerns, whatever ideas, whatever considerations that you have for us as the board, pass it through her. She will bring it in the board. Fortunately, she also sits in the IBA board of directors as the athletes representative. So she must bring these things to us as the board. And knowing President Uma, he will surely consider some of these things that are being said today. Doors are not closed.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much for the question. Any other questions from our audience for our panelists? Lady at the back there, the microphone is on its way over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from Nepal, so I would like to ask a question to Paul. My question is, you just told that there is only 4.75% involvement of women in coaching. That is, I guess, 419. So I think you have research on that also, why the Xboxers and the females are not involving in women's coaching. Because even I have seen, especially in the Asian countries, there are like, even the women have done coaching courses, but they are not in front of like while going in the ringside, or even I was looking the World Championship, all there are men in the ringside. So what are the reasons, and what are you just going to work on it that the women should come in front of, like in near future we want in a World Championship to be there as a, I mean to say women should go as a second, not as a man. I'm not dominating a man, but I just want to see the women to come in front of, like, you know what I mean.
Is that, apologies, just to double check your question. So is that for women coaches or female registered boxers, or both?
Yeah.
Both, okay, great. So the question then for female boxers and coaches, we saw from your data, Pearl, as well, we mentioned that low rate, the amount of women that were involved, registered as female coaches compared to men, and female registered boxers as well, way below half. There was some 13,000 men and not even 5,000 female registered boxers according to that IBA data. So why is that? How can we encourage more? Who would like to take that question?
I just want
Pearl.
to respond on the high level. Because she's from India, I would like to know, we are in India right now. Why did you not have women coaches right now? Your president is here. He must answer. Where are the women coaches president?
May I just say something else? Well, I'm from
she's
Nepal, and I'm
Nepal.
the first lady coach of Nepal. Because of I have not done a star courses, so that I'm not nearby the ring. So I just want to know. I think the boxing has, as a women boxing, I'm the first lady coach. I'm shocked of that also. So it's been so long time. There is no any women coaches in my country. So why there is no women coaches? I think IBA should like research and all. Why the Xboxers are not getting involved on that? Yeah. That's my question. How to encourage the women to come in front there? Because there are lots of consequences that they are back. So I just want to see that.
Okay, we do have a session. The next session will be around coaches, women coaches. So Chris and them will respond to some of these questions.
Yeah.
I request Angela, we leave it like that.
Go on to that session. There is, as Pearl said, we are having a specific panel session on women coaches in sport, in boxing, and how we can increase those numbers. So I hope that your questions will be very well covered and addressed in that. If not, there will be another Q&A session where if anything is unanswered, you'll have that opportunity again to pick up on anything that hasn't been said. But very important point, and we will have that covered. So thank you. We certainly do. So that does bring us to the end of this panel session and Q&A. I'm afraid it's all we have got time for this session. So thank you very much to all our dear panelists for all of your insight and expertise. You can now please take a seat back down if you like, and relax, get some water. Because next, we will have what we call a fireside chat. So this is a chat with Neha Anand, who is the head of global brand digital marketing, marketing communications, and international marketing at Mahindra Automotive. So please do welcome her to the stage. Let's sit up here and make sure you have a nice...
Does this work? Great.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this chat.
Thank you so much, Angela, and good afternoon to all. I know this is a pre-lunch session, so I'll nudge you all to kind of stay a little bit more awake before we have the lunch served. So,
yes. So this session we're going to focus on, because of course Neha has come from a corporate background, But there are a lot of synergies for women who have made it to the top in the corporate world and how that crosses over to the world of sport. So our focus for this little chat is about women in the boardroom and the boxing ring and conquering one punch at a time. So with that in mind, I think it would be great for the audience to hear a little bit about your journey and how you made it to the top of as an executive in such a big company.
I'll actually like to start with, thanking IBA and the Boxing Federation of India, and also the organization I come from, Mahindra and Mahindra. I think these are few organizations that are really encouraging, supporting women, helping kind of lay out the, I would say, the runway, right? And all of us are still evolving, but at least there is clear focus and intention, and I think that's a great starting point. So I want to kind of on the onset really thank organizations, similar to where I work today. Just a small story, when I kind of joined Mahindra and Mahindra, where I work today, the CEO asked me this question that, and I have 20 years of experience in marketing. The CEO asked me this question that, why are you looking at joining this organization? I was with my previous organization for about 7 years. Going back to what Pearl just mentioned about, how important the board is, I actually told him that I studied the board composition of many organizations, and this was the one Indian organization that actually gave opportunity to people from any religion, caste, gender. And so I really saw opportunity that in the next few years I could be part of the board, right? And that's the ambition, and I'm not guilty of carrying that ambition, and no woman should be. And that's the conversation I had very clean and clear that, if I have that opportunity with an organization, that's where I would want to be. So I really congratulate you, Pearl, that IBA has so many women on the board, and maybe a round of applause to all of you to make that happen. I think it's a big achievement. Today, if you look at, any of the corporate boards, right, only 20% of the seats, not even 20, less than 20, this is globally, less than 20% percent of the seats are held by women. And that's a big agenda, as a woman in the corporate world that I want to drive. So I totally resonate with many people sitting here as we focus on the challenges women have within the boxing fraternity. I think there's similar challenges in the parallel world of corporate. Right? So although my journey has been very interesting, I think this has been one, key focus, areas for me. And I think that's really been, I would say, the goalpost, to kind of drive my ambition to be where I am, today. It's interesting, because I saw all those stats and I had a similar question, like you did in the audience, why just 4.5% or 4.75% women coaches? And that's a big gray area even in the corporate world today, right? We don't have enough role models. What do women coaches do? They'd be great role models, right, besides the players. And that's a big gray area right now. So how do we build, and I have that question to a lot of the, the corporate leaders as well today. How do we create more role models? How do we give that opportunity to more women to be able to showcase their stories, talk about their success, talk about their journeys? One of the things I want to talk about today is also how do we build synergies, Angela, like you kind of rightly connected. How do we look at learnings from each other? Sometimes we feel sports is totally different from the corporate world. And in my interaction with, few of the players from the Indian team, right, and watching them play, and, because we're partnering this time, I think some of my learnings, which I actually take back to the corporate world, and I will want to call those out. One would be agility, right? Today, if you look at, the women boxers, although, they come with all the planning, they come with all the practice and the training, when you're there on field or in the ring, right? It's in the moment, how mindful you are and what your response is going to be there and then, right? So if there is a punch that you haven't thought through, it's going to kind of take you off radar. So how are you going to make sure you're there in the moment while you also have your practice with you. And that goes so well today with what we need at the corporate world. You know, we talk about it in the corporate lingo as agility. You know, COVID happened and all your, you know, corporate plans went for a toss. So what could you do in the moment? So although you plan for the future, you need to plan here and now and your response. And I think learning that from women boxers has been a great learning personally, you know, for me. I think the second thing I would talk about is your victory or defeat is in your mind, right? It starts within your mind, right? So what you set yourself up for is what you will deliver, you know, in the ring or in the corporate world. You know, and after talking to many of the, you know, Indian boxing players, I think I would say the will and the skill to win is all there together. So, you know, kind of bringing that all, the package together is really, really important.
It's absolutely true, like you said, those synergies from the corporate world over to sport and the mindset, the mentality, and indeed having that winning vision, visualization, the winning vision, whether it's before a meeting or whether it's before a boxing match. It's that visualization and mindset, but of course the support needed for that too.
Absolutely. I think the other thing I would really talk about is the power of training, coaching, and in the corporate world we call it mentoring. Right, having that right mentor or that right, you know, support system. So while you're in the ring for a woman boxer, right, you do have your corner man or the corner woman who's looking out for you and kind of watching your steps as you go along on the ring. And then when you kind of take that break, giving you that input on what you could do better or how you could respond to your opponent better. And I think that's as critical in the corporate world, you know, having that right mentor, the sponsor in the organization who's looking out for you, watching out for you. And in addition, I would like to kind of talk about, and I think Pearl did speak about that, you know, having a good support system. You know, a lot of times women feel very guilty that, you know, I have to kind of request either my parents or, you know, others in my, I would say, you know, friend circle to really support me through. And in India, we do have help, and that's also part of the support system we have. But it's really important for women to take that support, and it's okay, right? Because, you know, I think Estella mentioned that women are doing multiple things. We're not just there, you know, in the playing field. We're playing roles of mothers, daughters, you know, wives, and wanting to win in the corporate world or in the sports domain. So we need that support, and it's okay to ask for that support, you know, to kind of wade through your journey and win through your journey.
And indeed, there must have been a significant moment for you, or a time as you were sort of rising up through the ranks in the corporate world as a woman were there any times when you experienced pushback because you felt perhaps because of your gender? And how did you deal with that? What synergy solutions could you advise to other females from that?
Sure. So I worked for a long time in the technology domain, and the tech world has only 16% of women. Today I work for an automotive company, and again, the numbers are similar. So we're pretty much in the same boat when you look at, you know, the numbers that Pearl had put out there. We're pretty much in the same domain. But I think what really is important to really, one, not take no for an answer, right? And there might be chatter outside. Don't let it affect you. Keep moving. Have your goalposts really clear that this is what I want to achieve. And you will have naysayers along the way. But I think the focus is where do I want to get to and how. I think kind of having that and reminding yourself, you know, every single day that this is what I want to achieve. I think that's what kind of keeps you going. And like I said, you know, take the support of, you know, people around you who care for you, because that would be required.
Thank you very much. I think this is actually all we're going to have time for this session. Sure. And but we do appreciate your insight, and it's very interesting to hear somebody who's so high up in the corporate world, as well as a woman dealing with those pressures, challenges, how it translates into the world of sport, And like you said, that word agility as well, so important. And to just have that support. So whether you're an organisation and whether you're a friend, it's just supporting women, supporting all to make sure that they are getting those equal opportunities and enabling them to progress and follow their dreams. So thank you very much for your
I'll
insight.
just leave with some last words, you know.
Please do.
The purpose of our organization is Together We Rise. And it has a very beautiful meaning. We say when you help others rise, you rise, right? And kind of remembering that every time, you know. And as women, how will we help each other rise is really going to make a huge difference. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neha. Please do take a seat and relax. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now next, we have a scene setter. Now for this, we did have, the question was brought up by our lady at the back there asking a question about women coaches. Now this is the session where we are now going to focus on that. And we have with us here today Christy Harris, who is a Board of Directors member of the International Boxing Association, but she's also an active IBA boxer. So Christy is here with us to give us just that opening scene setter before we go into our next panel discussion. Please give her a round of applause. Christy, thank you. Please take it up if you prefer to stand or to sit, however you feel more comfortable. I'll give you the microphone here. There we are. Wonderful.
Hello, everyone. So, yeah, my name's Christy Harris. I am an independent director with IBA on the board and also a competitive athlete. I've been competing for around 12 years now, so have definitely had some experience in and out of the ring on both sides of the ropes. And with that experience, I can certainly say that there has been some really hard, challenging times just with being a woman in a male-dominated sport. I remember the first time I walked into the boxing gym, I was 14 years old. I'm 30 now. I know I look a baby face. I was 14 and I actually hated it. I did not enjoy it at all. I was the only female in the gym, timid, quiet. I felt intimidated by everyone else. I was getting stared at. I'm sure some of the other ladies have experienced that, walking into a gym with a lot of men around. All eyes are on you for whatever reason that is. And I really felt it was a challenging time. I told my dad I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to do it. I said, nope, I'm not going back there. I was shy and more shy and timid back then, but still, it was really not a pleasant experience for me. And if it wasn't for my dad and my brother was there to encourage me, I wouldn't have persisted. So having just two familiar faces in the gym that were my family kept me going. And I remember it was about after 3 weeks that I felt more comfortable in the environment and felt I enjoyed the sport a lot more. So it started off not disliking boxing, but disliking the environment because I was the only woman there. And I felt really intimidated. I didn't feel like I belonged. So this topic really does resonate with me deeply, and I'm sure all the other females can relate to it as well.
Christy, thank you very much for just sharing that insight with us, and it's absolutely incredible that you started your boxing career as well at 14. And certainly I can appreciate that. I think we have, as you said, all been in that position where perhaps you've walked into a gym and you don't know how to use a piece of equipment and you feel a little embarrassed because everyone's looking at you. And to hear you say that as well out loud will certainly give comfort to everyone knowing they too have been in that situation. So thank you for sharing that with us. And you're going to stay with us because we're going to be joined now by other panelists to further discuss this and how sport, as we said, can create an environment for women coaches to thrive. And so can I please welcome to the stage as well Chris Roberts, OBE, who is the Development Director at the International Boxing Association. Please give him a warm welcome, everybody. Thank you, Chris. Please do take a seat. And can we also welcome to the stage as well Amanpreet Kaur, who is the head coach of the youth national team of India and the Boxing Federation of India. Please do welcome her to the stage. And we were also going to have in this session, as you can see up there, Lovlina Bogram. She's actually not going to be with us for this session, though, because she is competing, and she's competing in the finals this evening. So unfortunately, she won't be joining us for this session. But of course, it's a good thing for her because she's doing incredibly well. So we do wish her all the best for this evening. So to our panelists here, thank you very much for joining us for this session. About, as Christy was telling us there, about how sport for women coaches, particularly as we heard from the data, the figures, encouraging more to enter the profession, achieving that sort of equilibrium in a way that they can really thrive and push ahead. So for this, my first question, Christy, just to pick up from where you left off there as well, what it's like being a female in a male-dominated sport. You talked about that, and can you advise how you overcame the challenges?
Yeah, definitely. I think from what I said, it was definitely persistence and definitely having a bit of tough skin about you, trying to brush off those comments that might actually be microaggressions. So they are jokes, but they are derogatory. I think you have to become aware of them and acknowledge them. You know, sometimes men think they're giving you a compliment, but they're not. So I'm sure some ladies in the crowd here might have heard before from a male, you're too pretty to box, or why would you want to ruin that pretty face? We think, oh, we think, oh, they think I'm pretty, but I think it's important to challenge the question. And for me, someone who, would sometimes get fired up at that, I've got to learn myself to take a step back and actually challenge the question in a more smarter way. So I would return to them and say, what do you actually mean by that? And I believe, would you say that to a male boxer? Because that's the reality of it. They wouldn't. And I would say, well, I wasn't just put on this planet to look pretty for you, and all these other girls weren't either. So we can do a lot more than that, can't we, right? So identifying barriers is definitely another one. You've got to identify your strengths as well and know that you've got to back yourself, because you will sometimes feel like you're getting put down, whether it's something more serious or whether it is a microaggression, like a joke, just bringing you down. You've got to identify them, acknowledge them, but deal with them in a proper way. I think this is really important, and I think it's some education that needs to be passed on to even the younger athletes as well. So identifying your strengths and building a support team around you. I think being women also, we have that intuition to know, if someone's speaking to us, they're speaking to us for the right reasons. And they want to get to know us for the right reasons, for the professional reasons. So having that knowledge and that awareness, I think, is super important.
Absolutely, Christy. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. And it does bring us nicely over to Chris, because he's in charge of development. He's the development director at the International Boxing Association. So you heard what Chris was saying there. I'll just make sure you're okay with the microphone. Switch on. Excellent. We want to make sure we can hear you. So you heard what Christy was saying there about the challenges that she has faced in her professional career. Now, as development directors, how are you creating the conditions for success, particularly in the equality space and developing our female coaches?
Thanks, Angela. Firstly, I'd just like to say, going back to Pearl's point, I'd like to echo about the fantastic directors we've got on the board from the female side. It's really good. And also moving across to our ladies that work within IBA, because of course without those ladies there supporting and pulling through the courses that we do and everything else that we do in the operational space, I think we've got some really good ladies that work there. And I'm going to pull out Hannah at the back, who's my development manager. She does a fantastic job, which leads on to the work that we're currently doing. So in terms of providing those conditions for success, so we look at what do we need. We did a needs analysis on looking at various courses, what's required out in the international space, and we've recently rolled out a new one-star coaches program, which Pearl touched on earlier with Gabriele. He's running this course program, We've done all the administration to support. So the idea is to pull in 1,000 new certifications for coaches. What's interesting about this is that we've seen a lot of female applications, and we've run 2 courses already. So, you know, we want to keep rolling this out over the next 6 months. I think it's important just looking at the statistics, because we need to grab hold of those, and we need to make that wider publicity to ensure that we bring in more females. And indeed, going back to the comment regarding the event, so we've got 325 boxers here in this tournament. What we'd like to try and do is keep it in the house, so we want to have the pull-through effect. So we've got female boxers. What does the female boxer do next? As Chris is saying there about her journey and how she's developed as she's been a boxer. She's now a board of director, moving into the administration role, and that's important that we capture that. And this is what we're doing now. So the wider education doesn't just involve putting someone on a course, it's also about giving them the wider knowledge and that wider information about what next. So what is next for our people? And of course it's key to capture that and then actively encourage our females to take a more inherent role in the organisation.
Thank you. And you know, you were saying as well about that new coaches program that the IBA is doing, and Gabrielle as well had sent over some data on the female participants for those courses. And my question as well, I'd just like to ask you this too, is what do you think it is if women are being given the opportunities, like with the new coaching program, but if the numbers are still not quite where you want them to be, what do you think it is that's hindering women from even applying? What do you think might be holding them back?
I think it's kind of a little bit historic. So it's clearly been a male-dominated environment.
Yeah.
We just need to actively encourage. We need to advertise the courses. We need to bring people in. We've got a good pathway, and this goes back to our grassroots as well. So, you know, from national federations, we see a lot of females involved on the coaching side.
Yeah.
It's about bringing them forward into the international space. And I think, you know, a good point about the Women's World Championships, we see a lot of male coaches. You know, it's something that we need to look at. But again, I think it's just rolling out more, you know, advertising it further and just actively encouraging people to come forward and just taking that step into that development area.
Thank you, Chris. And I'd like to come over now to Amanpreet, head coach of the youth national team of India. This will also, of course, resonate with you too, as a female head coach in boxing. What has your own personal experience been, you know, and what has enabled you to thrive in your career?
Thank you. Good afternoon, all of you. First of all, I would like to thank IBA, the President Omar, and BFI, our President, Mr. Ajay Singh ji, to give me such a good opportunity to talk about women empowerment, women boxers, women coaches. So come to my journey. I belong to a family where my mother is the head of the family after my father's death when I was 12 years old. We are 3 sisters. I never saw my mother weak. She looked after very well. She worked hard for our career as a boxing coach, as a boxer. I grew up in a family where she took decisions for our betterment, for our career, and never give us any obstacle, any particular things you have to become this, as she was a teacher. And she gave me totally freedom to choose my sport as a boxer and pursue my career as a boxing coach. So I'm really thankful to my mother. That's why I am here. And if I'm talking about my career, when I started my career as a boxer, in my initial days, yes, I have faced many problems that time. As an adolescent boxer, when I was 14 to 15 years old, I was really very much shy to describe to questions to my male coaches and my physical problems, or maybe sometimes my mental issues also. There is no problem with men coaches. The problem is in me, maybe because I came from a traditional family, and in that time, my fellow boxers faces same. because we all became from the very traditional families, and we are very much shy, as Christine told. So that thing motivated me to become a boxing coach, and motivated me, and that's why I pursue a coaching career. In initial days of my boxing career, when I was a boxer, I remember one incident. I am a villager. I live in a Himachal Pradesh, that is a hilly area, and I used to do training in our school ground, and there was no woman, no female boxer or any sport athlete to train with me. So I used to running and doing conditioning with male athletes and villagers or maybe some neighbors, and they just questioning myself, why you are here, what you are doing here, there is no girl. And most of the time they said to my mother, one day she will run and never came back to home, and she will destroy your name, so get her married. But my mother stood by me, and she said, no, she has right to choose her career, to box very well. And when I become a coach, there was one more incident. I was out of my home and in a city. I was searching a home for rent to live over there and to pursue my boxing coaching career. But when I approached to any house owner, they said, we can't give you house because you're a boxing coach. They were thinking that maybe I love to fight, road fights, and maybe I love to do quarrels and all. So the middleman who was searching with me the houses, he advised me, you have to hide your personality, you hide to your identity. So I said no. Why I should hide my identity? Who I am, I have proud on myself. So later on, with many efforts, I was able to find a good house for me. But nowadays, when I'm looking here or around me, that people's thinking has been very changed. They are very much supportive now. It's been 20 years now I'm in coaching career. I'm working as a coach since 2003. I worked with elite women team, Mary Kom, Nikhat, Pooja Rani, and Kavita Chahal, many more. And in 2017, I became a first Indian head coach of the any Indian team. Thanks to BFI, really, I would like to thank my federation, my country's federation, that they accept me as a talent, not as a gender. So I really thank to you, sir. Previously, I worked with the national team, but that time my role is different. I was worked as an assistant coach, but most of the time I worked as a warden. But in 2017, the BFI gave me this responsibility to lead the any national team. In 2022, I got promotion as a youth women head coach. And I feel very blessed. I met very good people in my life, many bad people also, but I remember the good things only. So when I'm talking about my coaching, at national team, I worked with only women, but in other way, I worked in Sports Authority of India, and Government of India give us equal opportunities to uplift the women in any sport and in boxing as well. And I really thank to all my boxers, male and female, who trusted me, even male also. They never disrespect me. They listen to me very carefully. They obey my all the instructions. So I really would like to thank all the male and female boxers. And the matter, being my 20 years coaching career, I felt that we have to support each other without any gender biased. So we have to uplift anyone, everyone, and we have to be with them. One incident I would like to share: when I was in Jordan for Asian Championship, one of my boxers was losing her first round in finals against Uzbekistan. And she came to me and she was just exhausted, and I changed the strategy, and I told her that you're gonna win next 2 rounds. And she believed me, and after, when we won the bout, she came to me and hugged me and said, yes ma'am, you are right, if you are not there, I couldn't win. These words are the real awards for me, real rewards for me, and keep me forwarding up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that insight, and congratulations on your 20-year career as a coach as well in boxing. Incredible.
Thank you so much.
Now, because of the time, we will only have, we'll have to leave it at one question each, because we do have time for a couple potentially of audience questions. If anybody has a question to ask any of our panelists on this subject matter, just raise your hand if you, yes, to the lady here. Okay, there is a microphone on its way over to you now. Thank you. It's just if you could raise your hand again so the gentleman can, there we are, thank you.
Hello, my name's Marissa, I'm from Australia. I'd just like to, before I begin, just acknowledge my privileges as a young woman from Australia and my privileges as a young athlete from Australia as well. Just a question for Chrissy Harris, just talking about, you know, women thriving from grassroots to elite, and you would have started in a period of boxing in Australia where I know for a fact that you weren't even welcomed into a gym because you're a woman. And then, you know, you were expected to perform as a male athlete to be welcomed into the gym. What advice would you give, and what standard would you set, you know, to support women from home level, state level, national level, all the way up to international, because this seems to be a universal experience.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Marissa. So yeah, you're right. I'm from Geelong, a city an hour from Melbourne, and then after my 4th fight, I made the state team to represent Victoria, and I wanted to expand my sparring partners and my boxing level with my coach. So I went up to Melbourne to a new gym where actually me and Marissa are both from now, Collingwood Boxing Gym. Now we love Cal, we love our home coach, but when I first asked him if I could train and join the gym, he said he doesn't train girls. He said, and I was like, oh, okay, really? I can't change this. And he said, okay, if you train like the boys. I said, no problem. And a few years later, so that was 2014, now he has about 8 girls in the gym, would you say, including Marissa here, who is in the World Championships, only after a small amount of fights. So I think it is taking the risk and knowing, you know, if you get knocked back and it's not going to happen, that is possible. But I think it is about taking the risk because you never know what's going to happen, taking it step by step as well, and being able to just use what people's doubts about you and what they think that you can't train at that high level, using that as motivation to actually push yourself. And then you prove them wrong with actions. Yeah, so you prove them wrong with actions. You don't have to say much. Just prove them wrong with actions, and that'll all pay off for that. And along with that also, you need to, you know, just proving yourself, because I think men or women have to prove themselves to their coaches, right? It's like as soon as you walk into the gym and you see the coach, I think it's this, worldwide thing that you try to get their respect as much as you can and prove yourself to them as much as you can. Okay, we all do it. So once you can prove yourself in actions, then that'll take you to the next level and the next step. So I think that's a good example from our coach, who didn't train any girls from the start. He allowed to have 1 in, and now we have more in the gym, maybe more girls than boys sometimes like that. And you know, there are going to be some pressures that come along the way of that, and expectations. If you hit a certain level and you've achieved something and you're put on a little bit more of a pedestal, then people start, you know, people are after your spot. People are after your position. There might be higher expectations, but you just have to remember how you got there in the first place and where you started. Yeah? So starting out with no fights, making the state team after 4th, this is my experience, then going up to Melbourne and training and pushing up from there and there and there. There's always hard times along the way, like I said, with comments being made. You're always doubted by other people. Some people, will make comments and it might make your self-worth and self-confidence go down. But instead of that bringing you down, you can turn it around and use it for motivation to prove them wrong. The old saying, it's like fuel for the fire.
Absolutely, and as you said as well, fuel for the fire and prove them wrong with actions as well. And that's something that everyone can relate to as well. It's that classic imposter syndrome. And no one ever thinks they're good enough at something, and many people, it's often a mindset, the way you read your audience, like with boxing matches, sport, reading the audiences and having that mindset, as you were saying earlier, to make sure that, it's talking yourself up, as you said, Christy, earlier in the taxi on the way here as well. And it certainly is the case. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, quick question to finish off on that. And resourcing always is the overarching issue. This Australia, we've just had our best campaign at the Women's World Championship. We have 2 in the finals over the next few days. What support can IBA give to us, to go back to our local government and try and get some funding for our athletes, letters of support, things like that?
Okay, would anyone particularly like to take up that question? Chris or Christy?
That's another good question. So clearly from your National Federation perspective, you've got your government support, which comes in, or whatever funding support that is, or the size and scale of that money. I don't know for Australia. I can relate to when I was the CEO of Boxing Scotland. We had our money was based against the Commonwealth Games, so we had the money that came in there to support not only the establishment but also the team going out to compete. You heard the president earlier. There you go. So
I think it's going to just be a matter of time, and I think, equality, gender equality and equity has come a long way, but there's still such a long way to go. And back to what Chris was saying at the start, the reason for that is because it is built into human nature. Women were brought up to, have the stereotypical sort of duties, is to have babies, get married, be in the kitchen, whatever else. But everyone gets to choose the life they want to live, including females. So, we're going to keep pushing that. And just this year, having these women's forums, having the really good World Championships here that are hosted by India, having these big events, it's just pushing it up further and further and further as a whole. And then you yourself is getting out there, and I would say telling your own story. Because, some people, to a lot of people, female boxing is rare. So it would be eye-catching. So again, don't be afraid to back yourself, put your story out there to be able to gain, your own sponsors. And then I think what's happening here will just take time, and it'll be happening.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Christy. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for with this panel session. But thank you to our excellent guests for your insight, sharing your experiences, and just giving everybody that inspiration and sharing those reminders as well of what everybody can do to push ahead and achieve their dreams. So thank you very much. Please give our panelists a round of applause. Please take your seats and get comfortable for the next panel session. If you'd like to take your seats, you're free to go and have a sip of water and relax while we move on to our next session with our next guest. Thank you very much. Either way, or perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. So to our next panel session, which is going to be on how sport is responding to the needs of athletes. And this, of course, is both physically and mentally as well. And there certainly are, of course, challenges with that and across the board in sport. So for this panel discussion, can I please welcome to the stage Marta Forsenselio, Board of Directors member at the IBA as well. Marta, please welcome her to the stage, everybody. Thank you. And also we have Christy Harris. Again, I'm sorry, Christy, you're also on this one. Gosh, you're a very busy lady today. I'm just giving you that extra training, walking up and down the stage. Christy, back to the stage as well. Of course, IBA Board of Directors member, as you heard, of course, active IBA boxer too. And Susanna Toth, IBA Board of Directors member as well. Thank you very much. And that is our panelists for this session. I'll just wait for Susanna to get comfortable and take a seat. Thank you, Susanna. So with this session, there's so much to fit in as well with how sport is responding to athletes' health. And you're all very well across this in with different perspectives, because Marta, you're from a legal background as well as being a board of directors member with the IBA. So if I could start with you, Marta, and for this, ask you, athletes, of course, as we said, face many challenges legally too, given your background. You'll have no doubt seen this. How is it best, in your opinion, from your experience, to legally protect athletes from these health challenges?
I'm going to speak English. So, I think that I should try to mention the main challenges for athletes, and the first one is the harassment, to protect athletes from harassing behavior, and also the discrimination. On the second place, the IBA establishes the principle of no discrimination in our constitution. The third is the manipulation of competitions, and for this there's a prevention policy extensively covered in both our ethics and disciplinary regulations and in the IBA Code of Ethics and Discipline. And I think that this is something that we need to pay close attention to. And on the fourth place, safety. To protect the safety of our athletes, I understand that the IBA has a licensing program for boxing teams, and this means that every team licensed by the IBA must pass an inspection to ensure their safety, as well as medical rules and anti-doping. IBA contracted the International Testing Agency, ITA, to manage its anti-doping program, in addition to having our own rules updated in 2022.
Martha, thank you very much indeed. Martha was just saying there, apologies, I'm in a pickle here with this, I'll leave that there. Martha was just saying there how it's very important to make sure those policies are all up to date with regards to harassment, discrimination, and the IBA, as you said, has those policies in place to protect athletes in those areas. And it's important to pay close attention to those. And Martha was also mentioning about the doping program as well in place too, to protect athletes. So Martha, thank you very much for touching on those points with your expertise there. And Christy, moving over to you and your expertise, which we know from our last session, as an active boxer as well, protecting athletes' health. What do you think are the key challenges to overcome at the moment in sport when it comes to protecting athletes' health?
Hello? Yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, I think obviously there's a lot of different points when it comes to physical and mental health with all athletes. With women in particular, with females, I think one thing that is really overlooked and needs a lot more attention, a lot more research, is energy deficiency. So we're in a weight-controlled sport. So especially for the smaller weights that sit at a lower body fat percentage, there's a lot of negative effects that can have on your health. So it's called REDS, Relative Energy Deficiency Syndrome. It can happen with both men and women, but obviously bodies are different, and women are meant to hold more body fat than men. When this happens, it can cause disruptions to menstrual cycles, and it can start affecting your bone health. So even I've experienced this myself. I started getting stress fractures. I had a stress fracture in my hip. I found this out 4 weeks before the World Championships, so I spent the 4 weeks before the 2016 World Championships on crutches. That's how I prepared for that tournament. And this was something that I didn't even know existed. and I'm sure a lot of people here have never really heard of it as well. So this is something I really wanted to bring up at this Women's Forum because there is not a lot of awareness around it. The research is starting to come up, I think. There is a little bit more of it, but just giving the knowledge and awareness out there of what can actually happen to your body as a female when you are cutting weight. You know, it's not just depriving of certain nutrients, but it can go further. And especially when you get into your 20s, if your bone health isn't good in your mid-20s, it correlates with when you are, you know, 60, 70. You could have a small trip and your bones will break. So, you know, at the start you think, great, you don't get your menstrual cycle, good times, right? Not at all, not healthy. So I had a stress fracture in my hip. After that, I had 2 stress reactions in either of my feet. And this is from too much impact, so jumping around the ring, running. And then in the space of 3 years, I broke both of my legs. So dislocated and this leg and broke both stones off both sides, and the other one I dislocated as well and broke the bones, and that was due to poor bone density and health. So I think definitely when it comes to females in a weight-controlled sport, there needs to be a lot more attention to it. And a lot more awareness. And then the other thing that comes to mind straight away is the mental health stuff as well. You know, going back to getting derogatory comments made to us, if you think about it, it's like picking at someone all day. All day. You know, if you're made constantly, and this goes for everywhere around the world, in every profession, every sport, you know, these subtle jokes or picking just is slowly breaking down a person and their self-worth. You know, and if we're brought up to be raised and, you know, expected to do certain things, and then if we try to go the other way and do something a bit out of the ordinary, maybe they're threatened. Maybe they don't like it and they feel threatened, so they try to bring you down. Okay, but that can affect you mentally, and if you don't have some plans in place to control those barriers, then it can be a really hard time. So I think they're probably the main 2 ones.
Brilliant, Christy, thank you. And actually, on a similar note, Elise Signal, who is also an IBA board member, she's not here today, but she did send in her thoughts on this subject matter. And she also said one of the common challenges as well, and noted a very common saying, actually, that a healthy mind is a healthy body. And sustaining that correlation between the 2 dimensions is undeniably obviously a good thing, and that sports as well plays a massive part in regulating that equilibrium. So unfortunately Elise can't be with us, but she did note that as well in her thoughts on this subject matter. And Susanna, I'd like to also go to you on this. Of course, as a board member, Secretary General of the Hungarian Boxing Association, and a member of the Hungarian Olympic Committee too, you will have also experienced as well how we can better respond to the needs of athletes' health. So how do you think, in your view, athletes can be protected in a more sort of substantial way, both mentally and physically, and your thoughts on the challenges as well? I think we'll need the translation for this, everybody, if you want to pop on your headphones.
Hello everyone. I am a pleasure to take part in this. Hello everyone. I am a pleasure and very pleasure to take part in this forum. It's very inspiring and very motivating. And sorry, and now in the first time in the Hungarian translator, and therefore, and so I answer in my language. Thank you.
So I've been working in the field of boxing for 25 years, both in professional boxing, and I think that Hungary has always been very successful in boxing, because in 1995 we held the first Women's World Championship and also the European Championship. So our boxers, they play a very important role, a pioneering role in promoting boxing, not only in Europe but also in the world. And for this time, I've been lucky to witness the history of women's boxing, and I've also seen how women boxers they were not as respected and as acknowledged as men boxers. It also has to do with lack of self awareness and maybe with lack of self-assuredness, and it also derives from the lack of attention, special attention from the federation and from the coaches as well. And I also would like to add that we know that there are not enough women boxers, and I know that men coaches are not always aware of the needs and requirements of women athletes, and that's why I think it's important to raise awareness, to find solutions that work for women athletes, and both from a physical and mental side. We can help women athletes in both these fields and make them more successful. Think just about the boxers who have families and who have children, and in this case these athletes they need to pay attention to many fields of life, social life and professional life as well. So sometimes athletes they need to raise their kids, they need to attend to the kids if they're ill. And I think it's very important to assist and to help our women athletes in this mean as well. As for health of female athletes, it is important to take into consideration the proportion of rehabilitation, of relaxation, next to physical exercise. So I think coaches, they play an important role in preparing the athlete for a competition and to prepare point by point, step by step, what's ahead of an athlete before a competition, to avoid unexpected events and to be prepared mentally also for the competition. We quite often say that it all depends on your mental strength. Indeed, this is true, but we need to be prepared not only mentally but also physically. Physical preparation helps us in mental preparation as well.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Now, we would like to open this up to the audience for any questions as well, because of course it's always great to be able to take advantage of our experts on the panel while we have them here. So is there anybody in the audience that would like to ask a question to any of our panelists today? Just raise a hand if you have something. No questions? That means you must all be hungry, but you'll be, must be the only way at this point. But I mean, it's really insightful to hear from you all about your experiences and how sport can respond to the needs of athletes, and that more important role as well that mental health is playing, so much more than it ever used to. And I hope that from all of us and all of the panelists today, there's plenty of food for thought there to digest. So I think then if there is certainly no questions, I'll just double check one more time. If there's not, then we will round up this panel session. Okay, I think that is it for the panel session. So thank you very much to you all for sharing all of your experiences with us. Much appreciated. Please give everybody a round of applause. Thank you. Now that is also all we've got time for today, and I can tell you're all very hungry, so it is indeed time for lunch. But I just want to thank you all for attending this conference today, because it is incredibly important to level the canvas and create those equal opportunities for women in sport and beyond. And we've heard some incredible insights from athletes, from coaches, and the questions as well from you all in the audience, you know, budding athletes who, you know, I love watching the journeys as well of people that I meet along the way as a broadcaster, broadcasting in sport, seeing young hopefuls, whether it's, you know, in the championships, Olympics, or whatever they aspire to do. And it's incredible watching the journey of both men, but of course women as well, who really, you know, because of the challenges they faced earlier on in their careers, breaking those social restrictions and the barriers, and a reminder as well today of how it's so important to support women, whether they are your colleague, whether they are your friend, and just encourage that journey as we heard from our panelists. So thank you very much for being a part of this very important subject matter today, and I wish you all an excellent rest of day and enjoy your lunch. Thank you very much. Thank you.